Hello everybody and welcome back to another very special edition of DialogBOX. I am Laughingboy. Tonight we have a couple of guests that are just sitting on my couch this time. Three very lovely guests. I have Caboose.
Yeah, hello.
I have Rude Duju.
What's up?
And I have Dark Pyros.
Hello.
We are collectively known as the Twilight Realm over on Zelda Universe, and at this point you can catch us streaming every Friday night at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So before we started streaming, I figured we could do an episode real quick to talk about the E3 press conferences that are at this point almost a month old, but whatever. Just to kind of focus on the big three, talk about Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo, and just our thoughts and opinions. We've all seen the conferences by now, hopefully, and we've got some shit to say.
I read the Cliff Notes.
Wait, you said Nintendo. I only watch Nintendo.
Nintendo is the new dating site for video game fans.
Can I get in on that?
No.
Why has no one
Nobody
tried
wants
that?
to.
It's a trap.
So first off, let's talk about Microsoft a little bit because they were technically first. They did show off basically just like a crap ton of new titles. Like this was a complete reversal of what they did last year, where they spent like 20 minutes talking about Scorpio and then talking about games nobody wanted.
Or games they were going to cancel.
Basically,
Hey, Scalebound was
yeah,
Too easy.
Scalebound DLCs coming soon. So there were only just a couple of exclusives this time, though. But I guess the first question that I have for the group is: did this conference make you want to own an Xbox? So two out of the four of us do not technically own one.
No.
I'll say this: it doesn't make me want to buy an Xbox, but it will make me take my Xbox out of storage.
I guess that's the same thing.
Yeah, kinda.
I'll say it. I wouldn't say it didn't make me want to buy an Xbox because every game I was excited for that got announced wasn't an exclusive. So my two biggest ones were Devil May Cry 5 and probably the release of Vesperia, which both of those are multi-plat, and I don't really need an Xbox for that. So
not Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk, that was the other
That was
one.
the other one I was assuming.
That game's still probably a ways away. So.
Yeah.
They released a board game for it. It was called Cyberpunk 2020, I think. So that's kind of like their hint at.
That's
Here's when the
kind of
game
what I
comes
thought.
out.
I was expecting it.
They said don't expect it soon. So
Yeah.
I'm also in the same boat.
At least they're being upfront about it.
I mean,
I mean, people here know my opinion about Microsoft is not the strongest, but I wasn't really swayed. The last game that made me want to buy an Xbox was Sunset Overdrive, which didn't do nearly as well as I was expecting it to.
well, I mean, even with Sunset Overdrive, there wasn't enough to follow it up. It was kind of like Breath of the Wild made a lot of people want to buy a Switch, enough so that they were okay with it being the only game that they were going to have on it for a while, especially like new to the Switch. And then there was nothing to really follow it up besides, Halo 4, 5, and
5.
Xbox exclusives didn't come out fast enough. Like, you know how the Wii U had no games? The Xbox One for like 2 years had
Killer
maybe
Instinct.
6 exclusives.
that was one of the Killer
Across
Instinct
2
was
years.
one of the biggest titles on the system for a long time.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, a lot of Microsoft exclusives are pretty one-dimensional. I mean, let's look at it from.
I don't know about
Halo-
that. Quantum
Yeah.
Break is pretty different. Also,
True.
it's getting a sequel called Control
I was
on the
thinking
PS4 now.
I was thinking of
So-
their mainline ones, Halo, Crackdown, and Gears of War. They're all pretty much shooters.
I mean, they do
Yeah.
come from the same. I guess Microsoft 360 really ruled the front of like that generation for a while because first-person shooters were so popular at the
Well,
time, and
Yeah.
that's what the 360 did really well.
Yeah.
Well, also the PS3 was doing what the Xbox One is doing this cycle.
Yeah, I mean,
Like-
PS3 was slow. It had a couple of exclusives that were bad.
And they just weren't
Um,
fast enough.
Yeah,
There
like
were-
Heavenly
there
Sword
were-
was the game that people bought because God of War 3 was still 2 years off.
Yeah, and there were like a good 2 years of this is a really nice PS2 upscaler that I bought.
Yeah, it was a very nice PS2 upscaler that I bought.
And
It was
the
a very nice
Xbox
PS2
One
upscaler.
plays 360 games.
It's a very nice
Like,
360
It's
upscaler.
a nice 360 upscaler.
Just like for a long time, it was a very nice Killer Instinct machine.
So, 2 people surveyed, 2 people said no.
Yeah,
For would this make you buy an Xbox?
because I mean, again, it's just Gears of War, Halo, Forza, and
Yeah, and what
Crackdown.
what they showed of Halo wasn't anything. It was just cinematic. So you don't even know what kind
It
of
was the
Halo
equivalent
game
of
it
the
is.
Halo 4
Halo.
original trailer.
I
which
almost
was,
Yeah.
thought it was like the Halo 3 one with the war, like the model kits.
That's right, the model kits, where it's
Yeah.
just a live action shot, and it's like, all right,
So-
this gives
so-
you no information about what this game's got.
So pretty much every Halo trailer, it seems.
Well, I mean, I mean, the Halo 3 one that appeared in theaters was like the biggest one that
crap.
they ever had, if you remember that one.
Yeah, I do.
Where people couldn't tell if it was live action or not. And that was like, I think they were trying to do more of that, where it's kind of like you'll cheer because you see Master Chief's helmet, but the problem is that,
I saw Master Chief and I clapped.
well, and even if people clapped, it's kind of like, well, it's Halo. Like when Halo 3 came out, I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. But like Halo Infinite,
It's
I
only
mean,
on the
at this-
game, not
at-
on the.
At this point,
Cinematic.
it's still Halo. So, I mean, Halo 3 was big because you wanted more of it, and so you got more. But then people don't really have fallen away from Halo and gone to other FPSs. So
yeah.
Halo 6 comes out. Oh, more Halo.
But I
Well,
guess
the main company also.
yeah,
left.
Bungie
Left.
fell out to make Destiny, and people are upset about that one now.
Yeah. We can get
Um,
to that later.
Yeah, maybe someday. So I guess that also answered the question that are you happy to own one?
Yeah, because now I can get Gears 5. So like I didn't play Senua's Sacrifice, but now that they're owned by Microsoft, maybe they'll get a big budget game.
That was
Heavenly
another
Sword
big
2,
thing about the
Heavenly
conference
Sword
was
2.
Well, I was also going to get to Heavenly Sword 2, really?
Well, I mean, the company left.
Yeah,
right?
they bought the IP. So like what other companies did they buy? They bought
Compulsion, they
Ninja
bought
Theory, they
Ninja
bought
Theory.
I think Ninja Theory was really the only one that.
Compulsion. Yeah, I'm
really
not really
mattered.
looking
The
forward
Sets in a
to.
Sacrifice Studio bought was a pretty big deal, just because
Yeah.
how much it wanted
Yeah, so
at the Game
maybe
Awards this year.
because DMC was a good game.
What was literally the
I'll stay
zombie
by that.
studio?
Oh, the State
what-
of Decay people.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're bought now, and I heard State of Decay 2 is really good, but I'm just not interested.
Isn't it still multi-plat though?
No, State of Decay
2
is
apparently was-
Xbox.
Won't
I
be
never
anymore.
knew.
Oh, you're
Was.
thinking of Dying Light.
Oh, yes.
Which, yeah, Dying Light should still be multiplat, but if it's not, that's kind of
That's
crazy.
exactly right.
Yeah. I think the Metro
Um,
studio was bought.
No.
Metro is still on everything.
Yes.
Okay.
What else did they show? It's been a while now, so like I forgot.
I can do a quick peek.
There's Cuphead DLC. That's kind of cool.
That's cool, yeah.
Miss Cuphead?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Oh, I do want to play We Happy Few. I just don't know when that game's coming out.
And it's also still multi-plat still.
It is.
Oh, is
even
it?
though the company that made it, even though the developers were bought,
Mhm.
they are still expecting it because it's actually it's being published by Gearbox. Microsoft
Okay.
isn't publishing We Happy Few, even though they bought the studio.
Do they get it first though? Because
Yes.
they're the only E3 conference that has shown it.
Gearbox?
twice.
Yeah, Gearbox has the publishing rights. It is a multi-plat.
But it's
And-
just timed like Tomb Raider was.
I don't know.
I'm guessing.
They bought Undead Labs, State of Decay, Playground Games, Forza Horizon, Compulsion Games, We Happy Few, and arguably the most notable Ninja Theory.
Yeah. Yeah, so whatever Ninja Theory's next game is, I might play it because, yeah, DMC was a fine game, and Senua's Sacrifice, I haven't played it, but everybody is like, the story is really unique and crazy, so there's stuff to look forward to.
Yeah.
If I had to buy my Xbox specifically for those two games, I don't know, like $500. That's a lot.
They also purchased a brand new studio, The Initiative, which is
right.
headed
Everyone
by
was
Crystal
really
Dynamics head.
yeah.
Oh, but there was
Dale
also
Gallagher.
that Zelda game you were talking about, the little
by-
fox.
Yeah, but they're
Indie.
so
Bubsy?
it is actually an exclusive,
Yes,
but it is
Bubsy.
considered like an indie title. So Tunic is
Yeah.
a Zelda clone that I actually got to play at PAX East this year.
Mhm.
It's apparently made by like one developer, but it's being published by insert name here. Like I actually, it's like Finn something. Like I
Mm.
actually totally forgot the name, but Finji.
And I personally am not going to play it, but I know thousands of people that an Ori sequel, they wanted it. It's coming.
Yeah, it's a
So-
very like narrative-driven game that doesn't give you a lot of dialogue because it's in a foreign, quote-unquote, foreign language,
Yeah.
and they don't translate it to you.
But I think Tunic's still coming out on PC, correct?
Yeah.
I think
but,
so.
But like that's still console exclusive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cuphead's
But,
the
like,
same way.
There's no,
But
I
that's-
guess it's still.
But in my mind, for like when I look at buying an Xbox, we're talking about want to buy an
Yeah.
Xbox. Like a
But
lot of
you
those
can-
exclusives I can get on the PC as well.
But you
Well,
can make
but
the
you can
same
also,
argument
for
for,
every single
other
thing that they talked
systems, so
about.
that's why it's not really worth.
I mean, with
But it just means
Xbox,
I'm not gonna buy
anything.
Xbox.
Yeah.
And again, that was the same issue that people had about it
But-
last year. Was literally anything that they talked about. If you have a Windows 10 machine with the latest DirectX,
Mhm.
you could just play it on the PC anyway.
Yeah.
So-
well, they still support that, by the way.
They do.
Like, people don't understand, if you buy any Microsoft first-party game digitally, you get it for your PC as well, for free.
Yep.
And you can play it with your friends on the Xbox. So if you have a better PC than you do an Xbox, you can just run all your games on that and play with your friends. And that's why I'm just like, why are they making consoles? Like, I don't get it. You might as well just become a publisher. It would
Yeah.
save you a ton of money.
It would.
Like,
But they're also like they make a lot of money doing manufacturing of hardware
they do. If it sells.
if it sells.
Could be out of fear
Hey, we
too.
have the new
man.
accessibility controller.
They don't
Those
wanna
are
run it.
making
They don't wanna
That's
be
true.
something like
They
Sega.
didn't show a lot of it, but that's cool that they made something like that.
It was on the show floor, or it was on the it was on the floor. I did not get a chance to really check it out, but I know it was there.
Yeah.
I know some people were actually wearing pins of it, of the accessibility of the controller.
I also know that their Super Pro controller is pretty nice.
And from what I was told, I don't know if we were talking about it, but the accessibility controller works with everything. So you can buy it and still use it on as far as I know, you
computer?
can use it on like a PS4, you can use it on a PC.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
So it's just USB.
I think this, well, not PS4, but I'm pretty sure the same with the Xbox Super Pro controller, whatever the $200 controller they have.
Yeah, the Elite controller.
That thing works on PC as well.
It does.
And that's a really good controller from what I understand. So they make a lot of their money on their hardware sales,
Yeah.
just from their accessories, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if everything they basically make can be used on PC or on an Xbox. But we were already talking about it. They did buy a lot of publishers this year, and that was a big deal for them to spend like a couple minutes on it.
Mm-hmm. Well, because it's also scary.
Well, yeah,
I feel like a lot of that was just kind of them lording that over everybody. Look what we did. We bought a bunch.
We got a lot of
bought
spending
bunch
money.
Things now.
Yeah, but like,
You all belong to us.
will those games come out?
well, I guess
many of those
my
studios are being
fear
killed?
is twofold because yeah, exactly. Microsoft does have a history of buying up studios, putting a lot of money into them, and then closing them because they're well, in
No,
That
Rare's
studio's-
still making games.
yeah, in Lionhead's defense, they had like 3 to 4 games come out.
You know what killed them?
They
Peter
did-
Molyneux.
They did
Peter Molyneux and
Fable-
Milo.
They did
Yeah.
Fable 3 and then
Fable
the
Legends.
new one.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
Legends.
4-player
Only-
game.
That's only 2 games.
No, they did 1 and 2. Or didn't
Lionhead's, yes, Lionhead did 1 and 2 before they got bought by Microsoft, and
Oh,
did 3
okay.
under Microsoft's tagline,
Yeah.
and then they published Fable Legends, and then they were killed.
they? Yeah.
And they also were working on Milo, or I think they released Milo, and that.
No, it never got released.
Oh,
It was
didn't
always
release-
it was always a tech demo.
Yeah.
I think Molyneux wanted it to be a full game, full experience, but it got basically got shat into oblivion.
Oh, it really did.
Because it didn't work.
Why would they put it in such an old game?
Anyway, so they
And Rare's doing Skull and Bones or whatever.
they're-
Sea of
No,
Thieves.
that's Ubisoft.
they're doing Sea of Thieves.
Whatever. Like,
Yes, they've got the new DLC, and so Rare is like the one major studio that Microsoft has bought that still exists. I mean, it's been over
Yes.
10 years, and they
feel
still
like it's on.
20 years almost. That's
I feel like
since they bought them.
it's like a three-legged
true.
dog that you feel really bad for, though.
Yeah, but they
Like-
keep making games. Like, you forget Perfect Dark Zero or whatever was a 360 title.
Viva Pinata,
Viva Pinata.
Connect.
Yeah.
I know. It's just
Rare
And then, yeah,
thrived on the
they-
Connect for years.
Yeah,
They
even
did.
though they hated it, that was
and
how
then
they were
they
getting
released
money.
their free-to-play style Sea of Thieves game, which is just like I don't know.
It's also not the same people.
It's just a personal
So,
preference,
yeah.
I think. I guess it's.
But-
I feel
but-
like they're not the champions they were back in their heyday.
but at the
Yeah,
end
but
of
how
the
much
day,
of that is Nintendo's specific IP?
Because
though?
remember,
Like-
back in the day, they were
Yeah.
doing really well because of Nintendo. They
Yeah.
had a lot of games before that
That
were
weren't-
garbage.
yeah,
and that's. I mean, yeah, we had Blast Core, which was amazing, but I mean,
I'm talking about Battletoads. Battletoads is technically not a good game if you've
and
ever played
I guess
it.
technically Rare is putting out
Jet
Battletoads.
Force
I forgot about
Gemini
that.
is not a good.
Jet Force
game.
Gemini is not a
Speaking
great
about
game.
Battletoads,
Donkey
I mean,
Kong
I
64.
forgot they are putting out.
They are
Battletoads.
getting Battletoads
That's
back,
right.
but
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if it's Rare.
That's a good point.
They never actually said. I don't think they said who the developer was, but I know it's not them.
Platinum Games
Platinum
Platinum
Games
Games
presents
DLCs for their
Yeah.
Sea of Thieves.
Now they're
Yeah.
busy making their other game.
Yeah, Sea of Thieves. Pirates Peanut. So there's at least a silver lining that one of the studios that they purchased still exists, but not.
That's not a good track record.
It's not a
though.
great track
not a
record.
good
Almost every major studio that has been under Microsoft's wing, the Age of Mythology / Empire studio, the original one, the people that made Halo Wars and then were killed as soon as Halo Wars came out, they're gone. There have been a number of other like major casualties.
343 Studios is still doing it.
343 is still doing all right, but they, yeah,
But they're riding the coattails of another company, basically.
basically,
Yeah,
and they're
'cause
just
they've
making Halo
only-
games.
They've only
Yeah.
made Halo, haven't they?
Yeah.
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 Since Reach, they've been making only Halo games. In fact, since their inception, they've only
Yeah,
made Halo games.
I thought they were a studio made.
they
to
were
make
brought
Halo
in to
games.
they were
replace Bungie.
they were brought in because Bungie was like, we don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
So they had to get somebody to come in, and Reach, I know, had a lot of help with Bungie. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked. The
Fine.
point
We'll
is,
get someone to make your game for you. Okay.
yeah,
That.
that's fine. So I think the big one here is Ninja Theory, because they've been around since the last console generation.
Mhm.
Their claim to fame was Heavenly Sword and and they're also really well known for DMC. Whether you know it or not, you know the game. They've only released like 4 titles, I
Yep,
think, in total.
4 games, and I think they are a 50-50 company.
Yeah, I mean, I liked Enslaved. I've liked every game that they put out.
Yeah.
They're competent.
Yeah.
But I think Capcom probably put in a lot of money for DMC,
Yeah.
and it showed because that game was significantly better than anything they've ever done.
Yeah.
That game gets somewhat of a bad rap. Yeah, the story is a little weird, and Dante is very Dino edgelord, but the game plays very well.
yeah, it's fun.
It has amazing gameplay.
And it has a really good style too.
Yeah.
Enslaved was okay. It was a little weird, like buggy at points, but again, it had less money. It was Bandai Namco.
It's a Journey to the West
Yes.
again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the main reason I just don't want to play it, because I'm like, I have consumed this story 50 times.
It's extremely different. It's
really?
extremely different.
Which
Okay.
game?
It might as well not even be called
Enslaved-
Journey to the West.
Enslaved Odyssey to the West or
yeah,
whatever.
it's called Enslaved Journey to the West.
Yeah.
If you haven't picked it up, I'm
Main
sure it's
character
free or
monkey?
cheap. I think I paid $10 for it brand new.
Yeah,
That was years ago.
it was very cheap.
That game bombed. So
Actually, 50
yes, it
times,
did.
50
It did.
times is not
The
that
only-
much.
the
It seems
only-
Journey to the West.
Only
Yeah.
Ninja Theory game I ever
Most
played.
people have
was
seen it
Heavenly
about
Sword.
1,000 times.
I mean, Heavenly Sword was also pretty competent, but it was still like, it's
That's,
okay.
that's the thing. Like, even among the fans, it's either the game was good or like, game was whatever.
I enjoyed
So
it.
that's why I say they're
Yeah.
a 50-50 company, because like, even if they put out games that are solid 7s, they have never put out a game. Well, no,
Hellblade.
Solid
Senua-
7s and ones.
Senua
Senua was, like,
Sacrifice.
Senua
higher.
Sacrifice was a big one.
but it's also see that's the
But
thing,
it was
it's a
also
walking
because of its narrative.
simulator, so
Most
it's
of their
like,
most of Team Ninja most of Ninja Theory's games are they're like not quite games. It's like, and I don't mean they're not quite games. I mean like
Yeah, they're
Heavenly,
not quite.
Heavenly Sword is not quite God of War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
DMC is not quite Devil May Cry.
Well, yeah, their character action is third place in a
They're the bronze medal,
3-person
yeah.
race.
Yeah, and then
It's Platinum, Capcom, and then
But
Ninja
then-
Theory.
what do you think is going to happen? Like, I guess my concern is that because I think Microsoft saw Senua's Sacrifice, didn't even bother looking at their track record, and was just like, let's just buy them and have them. And that's the thing. I feel like they're gonna pump a crap ton of money into the studio.
Maybe they think this can be their Naughty Dog because of Senua's Sacrifice, it was all about the narrative.
They did
so maybe
say,
they're
I think,
looking for a narrative, story-driven company.
Yeah.
Well, and I think somebody pointed it out too. I think with their purchase of Compulsion and Ninja Theory, that they are trying to follow in Sony's footsteps of creating narrative-driven, third whatever person games. Because it's something that the 360
does not have
does,
a
or
lot.
the Xbox
lacked.
One,
Yeah.
does not have right now, and needs more of in order for it to stand out amongst the Switch and the PS4.
Yeah.
The problem with that is you're under the assumption that they have writers that can keep coming up with good stories. I mean,
Yeah,
if they don't get a writer that can write
Yeah, but
something competent, it's not going to matter.
You can't.
we're not
prove-
praising for this. We're just saying it looks like they saw that and said this is.
But I'm also,
it
these
puts a
guys
lot of
are
weight on the
awesome.
writers.
I
though.
think
Yeah,
my
exactly.
concern with it is that because they've been like sevens, I feel like I said, they've only looked at Senua's Sacrifice.
It's almost like
which
they're
got high
expecting too
praise,
much, yeah.
and they're gonna expect Senua's Sacrifice again and not get
Yeah,
it.
but I
That's
think
my
Ninja
fears.
Theory said they wanted their next game to be like equally as story heavy and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it sounds like that's where the company wanted to go.
Yeah.
That-
I think with that, let's move on. Sony's conference was super weird.
super weird.
It was quite a bit of The Last of Us 2, about 20 minutes of talking behind a shelf.
Well, when I sat down to watch it, the first thing I said was, "Why are they in such a smaller place?" And then you find out, oh, it's because it's the same setting for The Last of Us thing that they're going to show off. And then that ended, and then all of a sudden we get these two geeks at a booth telling us that
Wow.
we're switching venues.
Two geeks and Sean Layton.
And
I
Sean
was going to say
Layton, yeah.
Sean Lane was there. It's pretty harsh calling him a geek.
And it was very confusing, and they were they're saying, oh, just about 20 more minutes before the conference starts. Like, it already started, guys.
The other problem was that there's
Don't
a lot
tell
of stuff that was
Sean.
lost in translation from that because the whole
Yeah.
point of the transition was to show off their other games. They built like big, beautiful sets pieces to show
was-
off
yeah.
the transition, and they never showed it to anyone.
We
that was
didn't see
watching
it. Yeah,
on
it was
thing.
just the panel the whole time.
You got like a quick view of it at the very end. We're like, oh look, we built something cool, and it's like, man, that would have been really cool to have watched.
It was mentioned in passing. Yeah.
yeah.
I didn't even know
it
that.
It was. I mean, the people I watched it with were very confused. Like, who is this banjo player who's just here? Like, I had to tell them that was the composer of the music for The Last of Us.
They built this whole Ghost of Tsushima set when you're walking from the church to the other
Oh yeah,
spot.
I saw a picture.
It's
of
a
it. It was
really cool
amazing.
set with like a Zen garden kind of thing going on. It was really cool looking, but they like I only saw it when they were like transitioning to another thing. They never really talked about all this effort they put into the building of this.
I still would have been upset even if they did
Oh,
show
I-
that. So like
I
I'm
think overall
not
it was
I would
really.
be too.
but,
Yeah.
but it was like I feel it was more for people that were there than it was for people that were not.
Of course,
Oh,
it
of
was.
course it was. Yeah.
But that doesn't make it good.
So I was gonna say, was this a good look for Sony? Is this
No.
something?
No, I wouldn't want them to do this again.
In terms of conference style, no, I prefer them to switch off back to their older style.
What it ended up after they got
I think
after they got to the second part, it felt more like a Nintendo Direct because
Right.
there was no host.
There was
It
no
was
host.
just back-to-back videos of everything.
And I thought that was fine. I thought
was fine with
if you were to take the Last of Us portion and had to just shove that at the beginning, drop the flute, drop the banjo, drop the transition period, and just have done the Last of Us portion and then continue the press conference the rest of the way they did,
Yeah.
it would have been a pretty bang-on conference.
if there was no break,
Yeah, it sure would've.
That was it just really halted the momentum.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and I didn't even realize that I'd skipped over the Last of Us 2 part and had to go back.
You thought you were in
I
the
saw the
pre-show?
pan flute and I was like, all right,
Oh.
we're good. Let's do this. And as soon as that
And then
was,
it ended.
Yeah, as soon as the Spider-Man trailer finished, you just saw like,
The recap.
yeah, and they were like, well, that's it. That's the press conference. And I was like, wait, you guys missed the game.
So I do have to say though, with the flute playing portion,
Should someone tell Sean?
that wasn't too big of a surprise to me because we know with Sony they have a tendency to always do an orchestrated piece before all of their conferences.
Yeah, and that's
but
why
then
I
they
just
very
assumed
common.
that was the
But
start
then-
of the conference.
But then they
it took 20
only
minutes.
did it for Ghost of Tsushima and Last of Us.
Yes.
They didn't do it for Spider-Man because I guess I don't really know how you would.
I
And they
thought
didn't-
Chad
thought-
Kroger back on it.
No,
singing
I
the theme
thought
from
I
the
thought
first
they were gonna
movie.
have the Asian lady playing the violin from Spider-Man 2.
Mhm. And they
God.
didn't do it for Death Stranding, but that's because
Pizza
who
time.
can make beached whale noises loud enough while
Yeah.
playing on
Get
like a
some-
mandolin?
Get some Tuvan
And,
throat singers
So-
or something.
so
That's
my opinion of the
actually
conference-
one of Kojima's hidden talents.
So my opinion of it was like, I don't think the format as a whole was terribly done. I think they did some portions that they did poorly, but I think they could minor changes and it would work really well.
I
for them.
think
there
my
were some
question
fumbles
is-
in the execution.
I think my question with all that is that okay? You have the live performances with the banjo and the flute, but other than that, why did they need to have a press conference? Why couldn't they have just followed Nintendo's footsteps and just made it digital and just
it almost
streamed it?
yeah,
they
because
didn't need to.
They didn't.
because with what they presented, they pretty much I felt like they should have
yeah?
because they didn't have anyone there to talk about
And
the
the
games
20
they were
minutes of
doing.
Sean Layton.
Sean Layton was just there in the beginning for about 5 minutes to introduce,
well, the segue.
and that was it.
Yeah, it was that segue
In the
between the
post.
two moments.
Oh, he
and-
wasn't even there the whole time.
But I do remember that Tetris Effect, Beat Saber, and Days Gone release date announcement.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the reason why they did Days Gone release date announcements is because they didn't want to put it at the same time as Last of Us because nobody cares about Days Gone at the end of the day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they did. until
The days
Last
are
of Us
gone
got
for Days
announced.
Gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
too long.
I don't know. I would like Sony to just go back to their style of conference because, to quote somebody else, they did a conference that everybody started to copy over the last 3 years, and all of those conferences have gotten better. And it's like, why change a good thing when you're already doing that good thing?
I think what happened is they reacted too severely to the whole you guys are just announcing games for hype and they're not coming out for years. I think they reacted too severely to that and said, we're going to tone it way down.
Now that E3 allows general audience, it's going to be hard to topple E3. E3 is probably going to be
But the
biggest
conferences
one.
aren't part of the general audience portion. They're separate.
But
They're press only
people,
still.
but so many people in general audience
And
still
you can still
talk
access
about
it.
the conferences
Yeah.
because they all watch it. Like, so like, if they went to a direct, I don't like that Nintendo does directs.
Yeah.
Because you're literally doing something you do throughout the entire year.
Yeah.
Why are you doing it at E3? This is your chance to actually talk to people
And-
about the game instead of just showing a pre-recorded
I
video.
think-
And I prefer conferences over directs as well. I'm just saying they could easily go to a direct style thing
Yeah.
if they chose to because of how many things they do throughout the year.
I think
Yeah,
Nintendo's
but-
problem is that they still don't have a English proficient. Besides Reggie, they don't have a lot of like English proficient.
Man, that translator
Uh,
guy is good.
Yeah,
but that's
he
not-
is.
The thing is it's not his job.
Yeah,
Really?
and they. I don't think they have enough
What's his job,
personalities that can come out on stage to support Reggie because a
Yeah,
lot
but
of them
even
came
if-
out. I mean, that Switch conference that they did last year was a good example of what they could do for E3s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But even then, people were still making fun of the live translators because they don't know how hard that is.
I would take live translation over just a video feed any day.
Yeah,
Because
I'm-
like,
Yeah.
then it shows to me that like,
It just gives off a different vibe.
yeah,
Yeah.
like you're. I don't know, just
Yeah.
watching a video. There's something about it where it's just like this. I could do this any day.
Yeah.
Why do you have to specifically choose this day to release this?
yeah.
Like, you're just wasting money.
could have done it
You're
at any
buying a
point.
stage to do nothing. Or
Um,
I guess they don't have a stage, do they?
I mean, like I'm one of the least ones to talk. I take a week off for E3
They have a
just
gi-
to watch these things.
So the way that the treehouse worked was that they had a dual
Just a
story booth.
giant-
It was a gigantic booth, and if you looked like over to the corner, you could see that they had a stage and couches and everything, and it was all supported. But that was where the treehouse took place. It was still on the show
So
floor.
it was like a treehouse.
Yeah, basically. I mean, you could stand on the very bottom, like wait in line for Pokemon Go for 5 hours and look up, and you could at least see them. Not that you could really see anything because they didn't bother putting it on the big screen, but yeah,
really
that was
dumb.
the thing that, yeah. So I think I would like to see maybe Sony go back to what they have been doing. I think it works.
I mean, I'd say I really do like the conference style. It's definitely fun. As long as they keep the amount of content they show, like they showed this year. They showed a lot of content in the conference.
Yeah, but they showed just as much last year.
Well, and
yeah,
the other
as
thing
long as
is,
they keep the content amount, but just expand it longer
Yeah.
for having the talking, then I'm perfectly happy.
I think
and they can do that because
personally to
they've
me-
done it.
Yeah.
the worst thing about it was the fact that you have those little interjections by Dreams, and
That was fine.
I liked those
No.
actually.
we still don't know when it's coming out. We still
Yeah.
don't know what it is.
It was
We still
weird
don't know
that
what
it
you
was
should-
weird
it's like,
that it
I
didn't
don't-
show up at the
yeah,
end.
and I don't
And
care. It doesn't make me care about
Well,
the
the humorous
game.
thing is it did show up at the end.
It
Yeah.
was just these really awkward
stream was
vignettes that were less than 5 seconds. I don't care.
Because they didn't show it at the end. Apparently, according to the interviews they showed afterwards, there was like a mini concert they did where they basically brought all those little vignettes in
Yes.
and they showed it off and like, hey, this is Dreams as you can do. And
Oh,
we didn't get any
Why
of
didn't
that
we get to see that?
Yeah,
Because they were
exactly.
talking about Spider-Man.
because we got to talk about Spider-Man
Because
instead.
they need to push Spider-Man because
And that
people
was
will
a
actually
mistake.
buy Spider-Man.
Yeah.
that was a
people aren't-
mistake on their part. They
Dreams.
really-
I think Sony is like Dreams
Sony
is
gets
becoming
it.
Sony's tax write-off.
and it's so frustrating because, like, for
It's
me,
gonna kill
I've been
that
really
company.
looking forward to
Yeah.
Dreams. Like, Dreams is a game that I really want to play. I think it's really cool looking. And I feel like it's getting in that weird position where I'm getting worried about it. And I
well,
shouldn't
that's
be.
the
I've been
thing
worried
where
about it
they,
for like over a year.
they should talk
I
about
mean,
it
you
during
should be. If the
PlayStation
game doesn't do well,
Experience.
the company's gonna die.
Yeah.
They might. I mean, they could have enough backing, but yeah, they had nothing else on their plate. They gave up their main IP. They gave up their second main IP, and then they're focusing on this game that people don't really understand. Other than you can create stuff that
That's
what's
it.
really the
I
point.
mean, it's after watching a lot of the videos of it that they showed at E3, it's Little Big Planet 2.0.
yeah.
I mean, saying anything otherwise is not what it is. I mean,
And,
it
yeah.
really is Little Big Planet 2.0.
And you can create not only games, but you can create art in the broader sense.
Yep.
But I think at the same time, it's like this game the budget must be super high for something of this caliber. Like, just make Mario Paint if that's
mean,
what you want to do.
it really is basically just a fancier version of RPG Maker, effectively, in a way.
Yeah, but
When you
RPG
look
Maker
at-
was cheap.
Yeah, when you look at the engine and how they're doing
forgot
with the
about
building
that
and
game.
everything, it's a build your own video game as a game.
Yeah.
And that's
Little
a
Big
very
Planet?
it's great, but it's a
Yeah.
very risky maneuver.
I mean, again, I think it's risky in the fact that they've taken so long. This game was announced before the PS4 came
Yeah.
out. This game has taken the entire lifespan
Yep.
of the system to release. I don't know how much money has been poured into this game, and I don't think that much money and time needed to be poured into this
I mean,
game.
how many people that work at Media Molecule times that by their yearly salary, which is probably not cheap.
Yeah, but I mean, let's not even talk about that. Let's talk
Yeah.
about all the R&D that they had to do in order to get this to work.
Did Last of Us get a date at the
Nope.
end of its
Nope.
trailer?
Nope.
That was one of my big problems with it, is that nothing, the 4 big games they talked about, they didn't mention a date at all.
Well, yeah, Spider-Man
even though
already
we already
had
know
one.
the date for Spider-Man,
Yeah.
they still didn't mention it though. They're like, by the way, this is when this is coming out. They're just like, yeah, Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Wait, like
I mean,
the
it's
date,
coming out in
trailer
like a
was
couple
pretty-
months.
the date
so-
Yeah.
wasn't even shown at the end of the trailer?
No,
I
No.
thought it
like
was.
I said, we
it's
already,
a-
So the
we already
only-
know
Well,
what
it
the
could
date
have been.
is. They just
So
did-
then the only game that got a date shown was Resident Evil 2?
Chris,
did
I
that
will
even
say
get a
that
date?
Yes, that
February.
got. That's why I'm so
yeah.
confused because I'm like, did
Technically-
nothing show a date?
It was very
technically
confusing.
they may have shown the Spider-Man 2 one because they cut away at the very end into the
They-
Sean Layton thing.
No, they didn't show the release date this time for Spider-Man. Yes, we already know what it is.
I thought they ended the Spider-Man like right as the demo
mean,
ended. They
no,
jumped
because-
right
I-
out.
No,
yeah.
it faded to because it played out the drum guy.
Yeah,
Okay, right.
but yeah, that was.
Yeah, because I was thinking about it. I'm like, they did show a lot of stuff for Last of Us 2 and Ghost of Tsushima, but we still have no idea when those games come out.
Which was
I'm-
actually going to be my
And then-
next question, but we've kind of segued into it perfectly.
Okay.
So.
I'm guessing sometime next year. I'm not expecting early next year.
I mean, do you think that these games are going to have this? Is it going to get a PS5 remaster? Like Ghost of Tsushima, do you
That's
think
a-
it could happen?
No.
If
'Cause-
PS5 gets no backwards compatibility.
No, the PS5 will have backwards compatibility.
One would hope.
It's a bad idea not to.
Yeah.
I'll just say that.
I mean,
If-
I would hate it.
I could understand PS3 and all that stuff still being their PS Now, cloud, BS, whatever.
Well, that's because they can't do it.
But like the PS5, if it doesn't play PS4 games and it comes out in 2 years, why?
Well,
It's gonna be a
begs the
rough
question-
start.
That
Like,
begs the question.
why?
If we were talking about this off a while back, was if they're going to switch off of discs. If they switch off
Yeah,
of discs,
if they
then
switch off discs, then yeah, they don't need to
Digital
explain
only.
why. But if they don't, if they stick with discs,
Then
even
because
then, they're
people want
still-
physical media, there's nothing new. The Blu-ray drive still exists. All
Yeah.
you have to do is put that chip in there that emulates the PS4, and I bet you it's not that expensive.
I'm hoping
Like-
that was their intention with the x86 architecture, was to make
Yeah.
it more simplistic to port over to newer
Mhm.
systems in
'Cause
time.
Boy,
Boy howdy, that would be rough.
If they try for the first 2 years of the PS5 to sell HD 4K remasters of PS4 games, I'm kind of like done with video games.
I'm going to scream.
Like the PS4, the first 3 years or the first 2
They were
years,
super rough.
it was HD remasters of PS3 games, and I'm like, this is super cool if I didn't still own these.
And I mean, even the Switch is having that too. And like, people give
Yeah.
Nintendo fans give a lot of people shit for making that an argument, but at the same time, it's like, we didn't say that because we're trying to rag on it. We're saying that because that's what we had to deal with for the first 2 years.
Yeah.
it's the disadvantage of being a gamer. I mean,
But it hasn't been like this.
it hadn't been like
This
that
is
until
a
just
recent
recently.
thing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
but it's
backwards
becoming the
compatibility
disadvantage
was
of being a
something that
gamer.
Sony practically brought up with the PS2.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then it was this idea that it had to be standard. So like, Nintendo systems were never backwards compatible until
the
technically
Wii U.
the Wii, which was backwards
Yeah,
compatible
yeah.
with GameCube
It
up
was,
to a point.
Yeah.
And then the Wii U was backwards compatible with Wii, but not GameCube. So with PlayStation, PlayStation 2, and PlayStation 3, all of those systems can play PS1 games.
Yeah.
Mhm.
PS4 was the first time where it was like, what? Like, we can't play these earlier games? What
I
gives?
can't even get them on the PlayStation Store.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
it's just it's
I mean,
unfortunate.
You can't. The PS1 games you could, and the PS2 games you could rebuy.
Yes.
And-
Yeah.
and it's punishing, like I said, it's punishing the hardcore gamers out there, because I mean, if you're not a hardcore gamer and you're a generational gamer, if you're not going to be a permanent thing, if you're only playing it for like 7 or 8 years of your life when you're a teenager to like when you're in 20s, it's not as big of a deal that, you know, a lot of HD remasters come out, because you probably didn't play it in the previous generation.
Yeah.
You probably won't play it in the next generation.
There was
so
also
you're
a lot
only
of
in your thing. And
I
it
think there
becomes
was a lot of console swapping too.
yeah, but and the problem becomes, like, for people like us who play through multiple generations, it becomes like this is awful because we get stuck with this.
But my problem with that is it's not even that they're porting over the best games of that generation.
It's just everything.
They're porting,
It's porting over
over
everything.
everything.
Yeah, that's
God of
true.
War 3 did not need a remaster.
Sleeping Dogs HD remaster is like
Yeah, the legacy of
This
Sleeping Dogs lives on.
is ridiculous.
Yeah.
This is actually bad.
And yet we didn't get Layer HD. I'm disappointed with them.
Yeah, you're right.
We got less first-party HD remasters than we got third-party $20 bargain HD remaster.
Should have gotten my Layer HD 4K remaster.
Yeah, right.
So
That
that-
game was way too far away from the PS4 release. to
It was
get an HD
visionary.
remaster.
God of War 3 still got one. That was the one that,
Yeah,
that blew
it
my
is.
mind, because I was like, that's like the earliest game that I had seen,
Mm-hmm.
at least at the time. It's Shadow of the Colossus, I guess, but
But
It's a PS2 game.
as far as your
Final
question,
Fantasy X, I guess.
the fact that Last of Us 1 came out and then a year later immediately had Last of Us remastered on PS4, I could see Last of Us 2 coming out next year, and then if the consoles are in 2020,
yeah.
I could see an HD remaster of Last of Us.
I mean, I
too.
could see one for Ghost of Tsushima, because we still don't know when that's coming
Yeah,
out.
I think
could
we're gonna
that.
see. I think we're gonna see Ghost of Tsushima and Death Stranding within the next 2 years.
Based on the coverage that Ghost of
Death
Tsushima
Stranding,
got,
yeah, but I don't know. about
it
Ghost.
makes me
still
feel
very
like
new.
the game is not as far along as I want it to be.
For
Yeah.
what?
Ghost of Tsushima, because their whole side interview with that was just looking at pictures.
Yeah, I assume
That
that,
was it.
game, that game and Cyberpunk are probably in the same place.
Like,
Where it's
but
like-
that is probably the game.
Cyberpunk-
We got an idea of what we want to do, but we're not like
That's the game
there.
I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to the most and I was ecstatic to see gameplay of that. But but after seeing their after conference follow up with it, it just made me feel like this is all we have right now.
Well, I mean, even the Cyberpunk devs were like, what you saw at E3, that was it.
Well, at
this
least
game
with,
is in such alpha right now.
At
we
least
don't have
at least with
else.
Cyberpunk, CD Projekt has said that.
Yeah.
Sucker Punch hasn't really said anything in terms of release
I will say
window.
when they talked about it, Ghost, they did say
Probably
they,
not
I mean,
allowed to.
There's definitely points where I think they're not talking about it because it's like probably wireframes. They have talked about when they designed the horse. There are areas where they were designing the world where they realized they can't really build this way. So I think they're somewhere where they know generally. I think they have like the layout of what they're
I
building.
mean, it is
set
in
up.
production. Yeah.
Yeah, but like within the next year.
I think within the next 2 years.
I feel like if it's coming out, I feel like if it's coming out next year, it's gonna be
rushed.
No, I feel
because I think
the only thing that will make me
early 2020.
Yeah, or
I think
at
exactly.
least like very end of the
because
year.
I think we're gonna see PS5 2020 November.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty reasonable assumption for when the release date of that PS5 is gonna hit.
Yeah.
And so I think we'll see Ghost of Tsushima sometime May or March of 2020.
I'm almost wondering if Death Stranding is going to be cross-gen. It'll be both PS4 and 5.
I think Death Stranding's a year away. I think it's like fall 2019.
I feel like that game is
we saw more of that than we saw Ghost.
Gonna just come out because especially with the content of the game,
Yeah.
if most of it is you walking around and just exploring a big empty world, that's not that hard to.
Well, don't forget there was the one.
It depends on what you put in the world.
The weird thing is that they had
But
that.
it looks like it's just walking.
There's
around.
that one trailer though that they showed where they did show the army soldiers and the tanks and everything that was never shown again with any sort of footage related to that.
Oh yeah.
I've yet to
so
see
there may be
Mads again.
something
Yeah.
to do with that kind of portion of the game.
I've been so busy hanging out with Mads, I forgot to put him in the game.
I forgot to put him in the game past
Yeah.
this trailer.
I think in terms of release date timing, I think we're gonna see Spider-Man first, obviously.
Well, yeah,
I think we'll see Last of Us 2 next, Death Stranding right after that, and then you'll see Ghost of Tsushima right at the end of the PS4's life cycle when it goes into PS5.
Yeah.
I think that's the most reasonable assumption between those 4 games.
God, do you think
that
Days
kinda
Gone
makes
is going to
me
get a
sad.
PS4 or PS5 remaster?
No.
I
No,
think that
because
game's
it's barely
gonna
gonna
sell
sell.
so poorly.
Oh my God. I'll
I
probably
feel
still get
really
it.
bad for them. Hey,
All
if
right.
it ends up being a great open world, it could be a fun game.
It could be fun. It could be good, but they really shouldn't have made a zombie post-apocalyptic game.
And
No.
they're not zombies.
They
They're
probably
freakers or whatever they're
were.
called,
Shut up.
right?
They probably were for the Vita. They were probably making a Last of Us for the Vita because their studio bent.
Oh my God!
And then the Vita
That's so
died.
true.
So they were like, okay, well, what do we do with our game?
Oh
and
my
Kaz
God.
is just like, make it a PS4 game.
Oh my
and then
God.
Naughty Dog just goes, by the
What?
way, Last of Us 2. And then
You're
Studio
probably
Ben.
not wrong.
Dude, yeah, it almost looks
It
exactly
literally
like
is
that.
like a side game for The
Yeah.
Last of Us.
And it
Like
and
put everything back where you saw it kind of game.
it's just wrong place at the wrong time with the
Damn.
wrong losers.
Poor Studio Ben.
No, poor Vita.
yeah.
If the Vita didn't
Vita could have gotten
die,
The Last of Us. God damn it.
the Vita could have had its Last of Us.
It would have been really good. All right, let's move on to Nintendo.
What's
Viva
there
la
to
Vida.
say?
I mean, Smash Brothers.
5
You looking
games.
forward to Smash Brothers?
Yes.
I was asked if I'll buy it for a friend. He's like, I want to play it online. And I was like, I mean, I'll probably buy it. Am I
I have-
excited about it? Not really.
It's cool. All the characters so far are on disc because
Yeah.
you had to pay for like what 10 characters of the last game.
8.
8.
Yeah, but I mean,
Mewtwo only if you pre-ordered.
we didn't know.
Mewtwo
if
is
we-
free if you pre-order.
Yes.
We didn't know if
So
we were
9.
getting them, or we didn't know if we were getting them anyway. They weren't on disc.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. They at least weren't
They
playing
didn't-
DLC
yeah.
that was already on the
They
disc.
didn't Capcom circa 2009 it, so they,
yeah.
like it was fine.
They're-
it was true DLC.
They're still expected. People are still saying that
Yeah, DLC
they're
characters, just
expecting
not
to still
as
have
many.
DLC, just not as many.
Yeah, but that's better because that
There's
means
64
less
characters
money.
that you
That's
have
still
to unlock,
it's
by the
so
way.
many people,
Yeah, but that's fine. That's the point of buying this game, as far as I know.
Yeah.
Like,
I
It
want
makes
my
you want
Space
to.
Emissary
I feel
mode.
like it does make you
I-
want to play it more.
I just see the same thing as Mario Kart 8. I already bought it for the Wii U. No reason.
But okay,
Zero.
but at the same time,
Yeah, so I'm
everybody.
buying it for PlayStation.
If you look at first-hand accounts from from pro players who are playing the game, they're saying it's not the same game.
But that's the same way of looking. Like, this is the Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition to Street Fighter 4.
No, it's not. According to them,
it's movement balancing. It's
more
changes.
You're saying it's like 4.5 when everyone else like it's not 4.5.
It's adding 8 new characters. Characters already in the game are getting balance changes and move changes with different frame data.
Olimar's shoot.
That's kind of what a fighting game does with their next iteration. They add more characters. It's still the same fighting system. They just change
Apparently
moves.
it's not, though.
It looks very similar.
Looking the
does
same has nothing
feel-
to do with how
it-
it was made, though.
It does feel very different.
Yeah.
It is a
Just
little
because
bit
of
more
the
floaty.
mid-air dashing.
I mean, I'm actually looking forward to that aspect of it because it's kind of cool.
But like from me, a casual Smash Brothers
But-
player, it doesn't look different enough to where I'm like, oh, I gotta buy this.
But actually
especially if
feeling
I
it
have all the
feels
characters
floaty.
on the
we
Wii
barely
U.
know anything about it still.
Yeah, I think
People have played it though.
Yeah,
when you
but
look at, unfortunately,
that's
when you
still
look
all
at,
secondhand knowledge.
I think when you look at the game, you are gonna have a very set opinion on it. And looking at the game, I'm just kind of like, this does look like it's gonna have a short development time because they are probably reusing a lot of assets.
Of course.
Playing the game, it does feel very different. There are certain things about the
So,
characters
like,
that I've played.
Brawl to Smash 4 different, or like
Yeah, it does feel like you're gonna have to like get back. It's something that you'll have to retrain yourself to do because the timing is different, the character animations are different.
But that all just sounds like hardcore balance changes.
Yeah,
It
but
doesn't
it's
sound
also
like a new video game.
I mean, but to that, like with Brawl to 4, it's still kind of like
But that doubled the
the
roster.
characters that
That
were.
has nothing to do with how the game is
All
made,
this did
though.
is add 8 characters.
So far.
that you
Yeah, so far, yes.
But I think the main gist of it is like it plays very differently. It would be as
but like, okay, it's what do you actually mean by differently? Because it's still 3 stock. You're still getting launched at certain percentiles. You still have guarding is different very slightly. It's only perfect guarding.
they've added a lot more self-damage, which was the whole basis of the point percentile. They've added a
Self-damage
decimal.
like Pichu, or
Yeah. Like moves can now hurt you if you overcharge them. Like I think Roy technically had that back in
Yeah, well,
back in the
help
Melee
B.
days.
yeah.
Roy's always had that.
He does. But they've added percent decimal places. I'm not really quite sure what the point of that is.
But these all like
It's
all
but,
those are very minor changes.
but there
Yeah,
are so
that-
many minor
That
changes
competitive
that happen
people are interested in, but casual people are
Competitive
not.
that when you finally start playing it, it would be like if somebody fixed your bike. You've ridden your bike for years and years and years. You've gotten used
And
to
they
how
finally
it feels.
put a bell on it.
No, it's like you wake up one morning and your dad like suddenly your bike looks the same.
I think it's more like
Maybe there's a bell on it now, but
the
like
bike, I think it'd be more like you wake up and there's no longer 10 speed, it's 12 speed.
yeah,
I think the point that I'm trying to
Yeah.
get across
That's enough
from
of a
what I've
change.
heard is
Yeah.
that the changes to the game are a lot deeper than they may seem to be.
it's just that
Like just from watching the trailer and all of that, it looks like all the changes are skin deep. But apparently,
From what the major takeaways from what they showed though, the major things they highlighted was everyone is back,
yes,
which
but
that already screams to me that's okay. And then stages from other games are
most
coming
stages
back.
are coming back.
not
so,
all
like-
stages are coming back.
Not
Nope.
all,
I
but
said most.
that's still just like
Don't
a
get poke floats, it looks like.
Oh no!
it if Smash 4 never existed, I would be excited about this Smash game. But the fact that I
Especially.
already paid $60 for a game that doesn't have airwave dashing and doesn't have 8 less characters or however many they make, and the self-damaging, like, I see no reason to buy it.
Has there been any news about amiibos being improved at all?
No.
They didn't talk about amiibos. Simply that we're getting
They
two
just
more.
said they worked.
Yeah,
They
I'm
said
just
they
wondering if they're
worked.
going to be better AI or if they're still going to be the same AI.
I don't think it matters. I think
It matters to some people.
they could literally put in the same damn system.
How much
and
money
nobody
did I
would
throw
care.
into my Amiibos? I'd like to see
That's
if
the
they're
thing.
better.
Nintendo can literally just
They could have just ported the game,
Yeah.
and people would have bitched about it, and they still would have bought it.
they wouldn't have bitched about it. They wouldn't care.
No, I mean, people are
the com-
technically bitching about it.
The
but-
competitive community would have, because 4 years is a long time to play the same game.
But there are still people that play Melee. There are
Melee
still
for
people that play Melee.
15 years.
We
Anyway,
have different viewpoints.
Yeah,
It's-
so
that's all there is to
to-
it.
People are
avoid-
still playing Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, my
You
dude.
didn't realize Smash Brothers
When
gets
it's the
people.
only
He did it
game
in this group.
around,
yeah,
Smash 4 players are going to get tired of Smash 4.
but I
Eventually,
think what I'm trying to
yes.
say is like
That's
having played it, it is enough of a difference to make you go okay. But there are certain things that I wish they could have done to, like, I don't know, hide it better. Mega Man looks exactly the same. Like, that was the thing that bothered me, is like, if you look at Mega Man from Ultimate and you look at Mega Man from 4, same character model. They just improved the look.
Well, like, Olimar didn't get a single change.
Yeah.
Palutena's thing that made her unique, they took away
They
from
took
her.
away from her.
And like other things that where she had different moves on different
She had
Bs.
12 separate moves.
Now she only has the 4. To make it more
Everyone
simple.
had 12 separate moves.
No, but the difference, the big Palutena's thing was that they were 12 completely unique moves.
And
yeah,
then
I remember that.
Yeah, but that's going into custom moves, which we don't know about. We don't
They
know if
said
they're going to be
they're not
back
in.
or not.
Yeah, I mean, Mii
Cool.
fighters are back, but their moves aren't.
yeah. So like
It's enough
it
of a
bums
difference.
me that their
Like I said-
conference was 30 minutes of
Smash.
this. Of a game where we know what the game is.
I mean, it was the
we know what Smash is.
yeah, and to kind of go into my next question, they did spend half of the conference on Smash, which again is something that people are hotly anticipating. There were lines out the wazoo, like people wanted
Yeah.
to play it. What the fuck happened to all the other games that they've been talking about? Like their entire last year's E3 conference, I think,
It was
did
majority.
not show up this year.
Well, the majority of that one was Mario.
The majority? No, it wasn't.
They
They
showed
showed
Mario
still
Odyssey,
wasn't.
but then they showed
I
other
don't even
games.
remember what else.
Mario
Metroid,
Odyssey-
Yoshi.
Metroid for the 3DS got announced and came out.
And came out. No, that was on the direct before.
Oh fuck!
Oh, wow.
It wasn't even at E3. What was at E3 was Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah.
Got announced.
Not a
Didn't
word
hear anything
spoken.
about it. Yoshi's Topsy Turvy got another direct at the end of 2017. Haven't heard anything about it since. Kirby Star Allies came out.
Yeah.
Pokemon, when they briefly announced it,
they said a new
they
Pokemon
said a
is
new
coming.
Pokemon game was coming out.
This
And
one they talked about. Let's
I
Go
guess
Eevee.
to their credit, yeah, Let's Go is coming out. We don't know if that was the game that they were talking about, or
I
if they
hope
were
not.
like, we know that there's going to be a main series game anyway. But again, that they already talked about it in the direct leading up to E3.
Yeah, that's the problem.
So they like completely avoided a whole slew of games that they had already talked about within the last year. I mean, the previous Nintendo Direct where they talked about WarioWare coming out, where they talked about Dylan's sequel, they talked about Luigi's Mansion, Mario and Luigi.
It's
all these
almost
3DS
like they
games.
don't like talking about games more than once unless they're Smash.
I mean, but that was not necessarily their code of conduct last year. They
Yeah.
talked about Kirby Star Allies literally every time they got the opportunity.
And that's why it sours me with Reggie's comment after E3 when he commented about like people asked about Animal Crossing to him and he said we don't like to show off our games unless they're about to come out. I'm like, you
Bullshit.
completely
They're-
ruined
yeah.
yourself from last year then, and that just
Their
sours a
entire
lot of
E3
people.
last year was, we know that these games are coming. Like, you have been bugging us about these games incessantly. They are happening, and that's it. Like,
Yep.
the two
Soon.
big announcements were Metroid Prime 4, whenever, and Pokemon, whenever. Like, they are in development. Please stop asking.
It feels like they changed their entire thought process of how they were going to do the conference between
They did get a new
last year and
president.
this year.
Yeah, they did.
Well, the reason so many people are asking is because they don't come out frequently enough.
No, exactly. Nobody.
Yep.
I mean, it's been. If you
1
want
week.
to count it, Welcome Amiibo is technically the game right after New Leaf.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about the Wii U game. I'm not talking about
Yep.
that.
Amiibo Festival?
I'm not talking about Amiibo Festival. I'm talking
No,
about
you're talking
Welcome Amiibo, the big DLC update for New Leaf
Right.
that essentially made it a new game.
Which literally just added the Happy Home Designer stuff into.
Well, and you can bring whoever you want.
That was the Happy
It
Home
was
Designer
literally
feature.
just we
okay.
added
Yeah.
Amiibo functionality so that you can have new animal residents.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which was all the stuff that was in Happy Home Designer, and they just basically said, all right, we know people really like Happy Home Designer for this reason, so let's go ahead and give them it in New Leaf.
Yeah.
Maybe they thought people would play Pocket Camp for longer.
I
Well,
mean,
they
Pocket
want
Camp
people
seems like a
to play
precursor.
Pocket
Exactly.
Camp for- Well, that's the thing. I knew Animal Crossing wasn't going to be part of the Direct because you don't release a phone game and then immediately talk about the main game, where the people that are starved for that game will stop playing the phone game.
Well, and there's that too.
Like, you don't want to lose the phone sales.
Pokemon Go's been out for 2 years before Let's Go got its announcement.
Exactly.
And the fact that it is going to have integration between the mobile app and the game serves that purpose.
Yeah.
I guarantee you we'll probably see something about it, a new Animal Crossing for the Switch, maybe
year.
even by the end of this year.
I would be surprised if they don't show something within a year.
Because Animal
people are
Crossing
getting
Pocket
really
Camp,
upset.
I know people are getting upset, but Pocket Camp apparently has done people still want a Switch game, but there's still a lot of really loyal, I would say more loyal Pocket Camp players than there were Pokemon Go players within the same amount of time.
But see, the big drive for me with Animal Crossing, and the reason why I had no drive for Pocket Camp, is Pocket Camp, the amount you can do with Pocket Camp is still pretty small when you think about it in the box of things, right? You've got your trailer and you've got your random visitor, and that's about it. You can't design your locations of all your monuments. You can't design your full town and make everything out of that. That's not something that Pocket Camp allows you to do. It's very chunks of what Animal Crossing is, and for a lot of people, those chunks are what people wanted in Animal Crossing. Some people really like the house, decorate your camper, and just seeing your one friend. But for somebody like me, who's all about the town building aspect and like the macro part of the game, that's one of the main drives for me for Animal Crossing, and Pocket Camp doesn't give you that.
Yeah.
And so that's where I sit, where I'm like, Pocket Camp doesn't really bring me into at all. But an Animal Crossing game, I'd 100% be full in on.
Yeah, I mean, people want Animal Crossing, and it seems like they are willing to take it in that form, but I do think that, the hunger is there. I think something is going to happen, and it will probably have integration with Pocket Camp in some way.
I've 100% bet it will. I don't doubt that at all. That's probably 100% right. But I think Reggie admitting it actually after the conference, saying, we know you guys are thinking about it, means we'll probably see something within a year.
Probably.
He acknowledged it existed, at least, for a lot of people.
I know that we're also looking at, there were just so many games that they could have talked about.
Why did they talk about DLC for a game that came out this year?
Xenoblade DLC?
Yeah.
It's interesting because it basically, the Xenoblade 2 DLC is sort of like Uncharted The Lost Legacy, in that there is so much content in it. It's basically a standalone single-player DLC.
But it's still the fact that this 80-plus hour RPG
is getting 30 more hours.
Getting a spoiler trailer, assuming everyone that bought that game
like 6 months ago,
already have trekked their way through it. But it's the fact that it's a DLC. Witcher, when they put out their 20-hour DLC campaigns, didn't advertise them. Like, as far as I know, Infamous First Light, that wasn't at E3. That's a thing you just talk about.
Because Frozen Wilds, I think, was E3.
That's the
Frozen
thing.
Frozen Wilds was PSX.
Yeah, it was pre-E3.
Oh, shit.
That's the thing you talk about on Nintendo Directs, but hey, their E3 is a Nintendo Direct.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't want to sit here and watch stuff that
I could watch any day of the week.
I could watch any day of the week, and also I didn't want to see.
Yeah.
The problem
You can't say that. You can't say I don't want to see stuff I don't want to see.
Not DLC for a game that just came
Well,
out.
and here's... Yeah, you don't want to see spoilers.
Like, okay, if Xenoblade Chronicles 2 came out a year ago, 2 years ago, sure. It came out this year.
6 months ago.
Like,
came out in December.
I think the big problem with Nintendo's Nintendo
Splatoon
Direct
2's DLC
is that they're
wasn't
also
fucking shown to be free.
they're releasing the Direct as if it's a normal thing for Japan's audience as well.
Well, but the problem is that Sony also displays their conferences and they're just either subtitled or dubbed.
Yeah.
But the problem is that, in my opinion, it was super short, and I think what you want out of these E3 conferences is you want a little bit of something for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with Nintendo, they were like, well, everyone wants Smash Brothers. Just talk about Smash Brothers.
But the stuff they showed for Smash felt like stuff they could have showed in the treehouse.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
So that makes the actual thing feel like it was 20 minutes of the new Fire Emblem, which wasn't even talked about. It was just a trailer showing some of the stuff.
Keep
I would
forgetting about it.
love
Probably
to
all
know,
they had.
Yeah.
but they were showing the character running around an open
And
town.
it was interesting.
They could have.
Like
They
I
could have
said, it's
said
probably all they had.
anything.
Fire
Emblem
Three
Three Houses.
There were.
Sorry,
there
I missed
were-
what you guys said.
There were characters in like an army fighting behind your character. They could have talked so much about that game, but they only showed 2 minutes because we gotta show Smash.
Yeah.
We gotta talk about all 62 characters and what's different, which we could have done in a treehouse.
They
I was
didn't even
hoping
do
we were
that.
talking about Daemon
They
X
did.
when that
They
came
went.
out.
They
Not
went
all
one
They
by
characters.
one.
went over the differences of some characters, like
Not all
Mars
characters.
Windshield.
I thought they did them
Not-
in
not-
order.
yeah, not all
People
characters.
made. There was a video compiled of all changes between characters, and there was about 10 characters that were not discussed.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, the fact of the matter is that, and I think this kind of goes into our final section a little bit, but what I want to kind of preface this is by saying, like, looking at Nintendo's conference, looking at Microsoft and Sony's, I think Microsoft tried to balance things out a bit, and I think that there was something for everybody at Microsoft conference. I think there was, with Sony, it was like there was something for all kinds of hardcore gamers that anybody could whet their appetite on. I think with Nintendo, it was obviously extremely focused on appealing to Smash fans. I think it was just appealing to people that have been wanting that game on Switch for so long.
That's just it.
But it's
people
also
have wanted Smash on the Switch. That's the first game people were asking for after Breath of the Wild. They're like, we want Smash Brothers back.
Yeah.
Because 4U was good, and people wanted
wanna
to keep
throw out their
playing
Wii
Smash.
Us.
Yeah, they don't want their Wii U anymore.
Yeah.
So like,
Trash that.
Even diehard Nintendo fanboys are like, I want to put this thing to bed.
yeah.
And Smash is the only thing keeping me from doing that. So I think with the hardcore Smash fan base, that it definitely appealed to them, but there was little else for anybody that wanted anything else.
I feel like there was a bit of an overassumption that everyone wants to see this. Maybe a majority of people want to see Smash, but I think they kind of overshot it a little bit.
Yeah, and honestly, because of so much coverage that they gave it during the Treehouse, you got your fill. You didn't even need it in the Direct,
It was
and you got so much.
It was just as bad as the Breath of the Wild year, where
Yeah,
it was,
where it was just Breath of the Wild.
hours of the opening continent, and you're like,
How many times can we show this?
I
one trial?
get it. Link can do almost
Link
anything.
gets cold. Yeah,
You can see Link nips.
He has no nipples.
Careful with that word. So,
true.
but yeah, I
We ain't in Britain.
I guess this brings us to the final sort of topic. Basically, I personally thought that Microsoft of the three had the best conference. I think, again, there was something for everybody, whether you were a hardcore gamer, whether you were
Even non-Microsoft fans.
even non-Microsoft fans. Like, you could watch that, own a PS4 and nothing else, and still get value from that conference because most of those games were not exclusive. But if you owned an Xbox, maybe it didn't make you rush out to buy one, but if you already owned one, it made you happy to own one.
Yes.
I think with PS4, it made you really happy to own a PlayStation, and if you were a hardcore gamer, maybe this enticed you to possibly buy one. I don't know 100%, but
Yeah, Last of Us 2 was
Last-
probably enough
yeah.
by itself.
yeah.
And a good Spider-Man game.
Yeah.
God, that Spider-Man game looks so
because
good.
it's been
Too long.
decades. Like,
That
Enter
Spider-Man game looks
Electro.
so
Yeah.
good.
Not even Enter Electro.
Yeah, like-
The last Spider-Man game I
Spider-Man
liked
2.
was the second movie one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2
It
was
was
like
because that one was a very pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
Because movie tie-in games are usually garbage.
Yeah. So, where do you guys think the big three fall into all this?
I'll let them. I'm gonna go last. 'Cause
I mean, well, I'm the only one who actually didn't watch Microsoft's conference live. I just saw what they announced and then watched the trailers from there. 3 of the games in there are probably my second, third, and fourth most anticipated games coming out of that, which are Devil May Cry, Cyberpunk, and the Vesperia remake. The game I was looking forward to the most was Ghost of Tsushima, which I'm glad I got to see what I saw. I really hope they're further along than they let on that they are. But honestly, I'm totally fine with waiting if it means a better game. The Nintendo conference, I liked seeing all the stuff for Smash. Did it belong on the Direct? No. All the other stuff during the Direct was cool too, but yeah, I mean, why would you do the same thing you do 4 times a year anyways? Like, this is a special time of year. Do something special.
Yeah. I mean, even last year they had the Spotlight where they had a lot more coverage between like Reggie, directors of other games, producers.
He was nowhere to be found.
He was there for a little bit.
Oh, I never saw him.
During like right before the third-party montage that was totally glossed over by literally everybody. I remember
By
how
the way,
Fortnite,
Dragon Ball Fighters.
No, that was his thing. He did Fortnite. He talked about Fortnite on Switch.
Yeah. Cool.
So I guess there was something for everybody because everybody plays Fortnite.
Not people that own PS4s.
That's true.
I have learned to keep my expectations low so that when they're exceeded, I can be happy. Like, just going in with expecting a lot is just going to get you angry.
And I think I try to do the same, but I think even then, Microsoft's conference, there were a ton of games that I think everybody, like Matt, Chris, and I, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. Dark Pyros, Rude Dude, and I were watching it live, and I remember all of us getting super excited at different games. Like, we all had the one thing that we were super excited about. I was ecstatic to find out that I could finally play Tales of Vesperia on a home console and not have to buy a new one. Chris, you were super pumped about DMC5.
Yeah, that was a good trailer.
And
I mean, like, I've said this before multiple times in my opinion about this. From a not looking at it from Dark Pyros, just fanboy eyes, Microsoft is probably the best, from like, or one of the best. But
Well, good.
yeah,
but like, from when I look at it, for what I look at when I rank them in my own personal opinion, I thought Sony's was amazing, minus the really awkward bit.
yes,
If you drop the awkward bit, I thought that conference was like, I mean, yeah, it could have been more of a conference than less of a direct, but everything they showed except for Resident Evil 2, and that's only because I don't play Resident Evil games.
I'm super excited
But
about that
everything else they showed in that conference was like, hit me on the head. I'm ready. I'm in on all of these games. There wasn't a single thing they showed. Even the dream sequences were like, I was like, oh, this is amazing.
You were pumped about the friggin' Rick and Morty game.
Yeah,
I know,
Trover.
exactly.
Yeah,
he's,
Trover
he's
saves
the
the universe.
one person in here that would
As a-
probably
like-
buy Trover.
And I'm
Yeah.
going to buy Trover on day one.
Yeah.
Like, everything they showed.
He's the only one of half of us that can.
For me, Sony won 100% for me.
Yeah.
But I agree with you that I think Microsoft had more for everyone.
Yeah.
They showed Forza, they showed Gears, they showed things that, like, those aren't my things, but there are a lot of people out there that love racing games. There are a lot of people out there that love shooters. So there are those people out there that got a lot more out of it, I think, in their conference than I did.
Right.
But there was things in Microsoft conference that I was like, oh man, this is amazing. Like Vesperia as well. I've been like, you're gonna be talking about it for weeks, about the rumored, the leaked
Yeah.
people that had like searched through like Japanese websites to find that Vesperia was coming, and I was like, dude, I cannot wait for this to be officially announced because I've been looking forward to this game for a while.
I've been looking forward to it for 10 years.
So-
when it was rumored to get localized for the PS3.
I'm so excited to start the game over because I've played about half of the game going over to a friend's house because he's the only one I knew who owned an Xbox.
And like, to be fair, like, I wasn't looking forward to the game as the like, oh, I think it's everyone says it's the best one. It's just like, I just want to play it, and I didn't want to buy
Exactly.
a game for a console I don't own, and I didn't want to buy the console that I don't own just for that one game.
Yep. So that's my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I think for personal opinion, I think Sony's is better.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people will find Microsoft's better. I think a lot of people out there will find it better.
Yeah.
And that's fair, and I'm not going to tell anyone. But, I mean, I know I'm also slightly biased towards Sony because I've pretty much bought every single Sony product that's ever come out.
Yes.
And I probably still will.
You probably still will.
So, at the end of the day, that's my opinion on it.
Yeah, I'm not excited about Vesperia because I've already played that game.
No, I
but
It's fine.
but like, so Sony, I don't even mind that it was Nintendo Direct style because they showed more than Nintendo goddamn Direct did.
They had a lot more time to show more than Nintendo ever goddamn did.
No, I'm talking about
Nintendo
the
decided
section,
to put it on themselves
the
to make
section
it 30
from
minutes.
Ghost of Tsushima until the end is about 59 minutes. The Nintendo Direct was about 45.
Yeah.
It was a better Nintendo Direct than Nintendo Direct.
Yeah.
That being said, go back to the other style. Bethesda's presentation minus Andrew WK was but that was the Sony style that has been going for the last 2 to 3 years, and it's been great. It's good. The developers are on stage talking about their games. They're
stage is
showing
really
the
weird, though.
games.
Yeah.
The stage is weird because you're never supposed to show your back to the audience. Don't do that. But so, like, that being said, Sony's conference had a lot of really cool stuff. I would put it as first. The problem was that transition was 20 minutes of a time where I was on my phone. I didn't give a damn about what was on the screen, and I own one of the games they showed off during that part.
Yeah.
Destiny 2. I could not have been less engaged.
I didn't watch it.
And that's why
I didn't know about God of War New
Game
Game
Plus.
Plus being a thing that wasn't already in the game.
Because unless you were
Until
paying
somebody
attention, you missed it.
Yeah, and that's why I'm like,
Or if you didn't watch it, like
from an actual,
They literally spent a sentence
from an
on it.
actual conference standpoint, I can't give it the best one, even though
Yeah.
it had the most things that I liked.
yeah,
And see, that's where I kind of said
And the fact that Microsoft, people that have been running around not knowing what to even do for the last 2 years, just emulated what Sony has done.
Yeah.
And they did a pretty damn good job. I was like, cool, you showed games.
yeah.
You showed
they
a
did
reason-
a real good job
you
showing
showed a
games.
re-
You
reason
didn't
for
once
me
talk about TV.
to play on my Xbox One.
yeah,
And for that, you get the ringer this year. Sony's second, and Nintendo, don't do that again, please.
yeah, I think you and I at the end have about the same kind of
Even
opinions.
dude, I'm trying to think of a Nintendo game that they could have shown. If they spent 30 minutes
They could've
on
spent-
F-Zero, I would have been hyped, but still pissed.
Well, because like you don't need to talk 30 minutes about F-Zero.
You don't. It's racist.
It's what the treehouse portion is for.
Yeah, it's-
Exactly.
Like they
Yeah.
should, if Nintendo Direct wanted to do it, they should have done it the way that they did it last year, or even the way that their previous Direct was,
Yeah,
where it
they-
was just here's a shit ton of games. Now let's spend the next 3 days
Yeah.
that we have to just live stream and go into more detail.
That
That's
was
all they
supposed to
had
be
to
the point of
do.
the Treehouse.
Was Odyssey
Yeah.
in the Direct last year?
Was what?
Was Odyssey
Very
in the
quickly.
Direct last year?
It was like a
It was
3-minute trailer.
one trailer.
And that's what you do. Because you know you're going to talk about it for
Exactly.
the next
There was
few
a lot of
days.
meat in that Direct last year. It wasn't the Direct; it was a spotlight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that
that's-
was special.
that's the thing.
I like how
That's
we've
the whole-
co-opted
that's
the
whole
word
point of Treehouse
direct.
was to show
Yeah.
off your stuff.
Yeah.
So don't show it
video
off in the direct.
presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Nintendo really. I think that they were relying too heavily. I mean, to put it further, their booth was. I was done in 20 minutes
That's because they had really
Because-
good lines, right?
because
No, they had really bad-
no, the lines were terrible.
Oh.
But everybody's lines were terrible.
Not counting
their
the lines.
Their
he was
Smash
done in
line was
20
actually
minutes.
really good because you could get in 10
Well, there was like
minutes.
thousands of units.
There was
Constantly
32
telling me-
screens, and there are 4 people to each screen, so it was really fast.
Oh, no,
You told
8
me they
player.
failed on even showing off the treehouse. Like they didn't even really care about the people that were there.
I don't think so. And the thing is that when you're on the show floor and you're looking at the booth, it was here are a couple of nindies over in the corner with right below the treehouse. There was Smash Brothers, that was the main stage, and then you had a smaller area for Let's Go Pikachu and a smaller area for a game that came out a week later. And of course, I'm talking about Mario Aces.
Yeah.
So it was, I think, a letdown in terms of they didn't have a lot to show on the Direct. Well, they sure as shit didn't have a lot to show on the floor. And even Sony, even though they talked about 5 major games and then they talked about a lot of minor games, it was really just Spider-Man and a stage.
None of them were on the floor.
They had
Black Ops 4.
and
Destiny.
Black Ops and Destiny 2 got minor areas.
Yeah.
Half of the show floor was a free space where people could sit and watch the stage.
Yes.
And there was no need for that.
Yeah.
So even though Sony had a lot to show, I think Sony did another fumble where they were like,
There was nothing
these games,
to play.
yeah, there's nothing to play because these games
Resident
are...
Evil 2 was at Capcom's section,
Resident Evil
right?
2 was at Capcom's because they did the stupid haunted house. Do not
Yeah.
even get me started.
Yes, I know.
So
Haunted houses.
You're
suck.
not
Resi-
even in
yeah.
a house in Resident Evil 2.
I think ultimately Nintendo really dropped it in my book. Like,
Oh yeah.
It's like how I felt about Kingdom Hearts. First time I
Which we
saw the
didn't even talk
trailer,
about.
I was like, cool. Second time I saw the trailer, I'm like, one new scene. Third time I saw the trailer, like, a really long new scene.
Aqua got Norded!
Followed by the same
It's not even
stuff from
word.
the other 2 conferences.
yeah.
You can't help but think that also Octopath Traveler is for Nintendo going like, we know we don't have Kingdom Hearts, but please look, we have a Square Enix game. we
Well,
have a
I
Square
think
Enix
it's
game.
also the fact that Octopath Traveler is a game that Nintendo is trying to market to children, and it is not a game for children.
No,
Yeah.
not at all.
It's
No,
a
it's not.
T-rated game.
Yeah.
It's
So is Xenoblade too, I
playing the
think.
demo.
Yes, it is.
it's not a game for kids.
Because of boobs.
Well, there's also a lot of heavy content in there.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
no, Xenoblade is definitely
Xenoblade is mostly just
suggestive
boobs.
themes.
Oh,
A lot of them. But, I mean, they're trying to market these games to kids. They always have been. But did they talk about Wolfenstein 2, actually?
No,
No, they didn't.
No.
I
you
mean,
got Fortnite.
it was in the montage, I think.
Bethesda didn't even talk about it.
yeah, they didn't.
Yeah,
We
I
got
think
Andrew WK.
They preferred to
That's the best part
talk
about
about Alexa Skyrim than they did to talk about Wolfenstein
God, that was so
2
That
good.
on
was
Switch.
funny.
It was very funny and very real. But I think the problem is, like, again, I think we can all agree Nintendo was probably bottom.
Oh, Nintendo
Yes,
was the bottom.
yes.
And then it's just a question
But
of Microsoft
bottom
or Sony.
of the big 3.
Yeah, exactly.
Of the whole conference, no, they were
no,
still...
EA was bottom
Yes.
bitch completely. It was the worst conference in the entire thing.
Yes.
That was awful.
It was
It
bad.
blame your developers on your problems, you stupid idiot.
There was nothing redeemable about that.
No, there was no redeemable factor. Okay, I think that's good. I think that's pretty good.
You got like 3 hours of...
no, it's only
Only an hour and a half.
It's only been an hour and a half, and like 10 minutes of it we're not even using.
I've
I'll
been
probably
watching
cut
the
some of the
timers.
Smash stuff.
I've been watching the clock as we were going through. I was like,
So
man.
we did good. I think we'll have an hour's worth of material.
Anthem
So
was done poorly though because they didn't even do the stupid dev commentary thing.
wasn't part of the big 3. We're not talking about it. So we will see you guys on the next episode of DialogBOX. Well, maybe not the rest of my crew. Who knows? I just bring people whenever I feel like it into my house.
We're easier because he doesn't have to Skype us.
That's correct.
Sorry, Discord us.
Discord them.
Yeah, Skype sucks now.
Yeah, exactly. So, but if you like this video, please leave a comment. What did you guys think was the best part of your E3 experience, conference wise? Who did you think, even out of the big 3, who did you think was on top? And what games are you guys looking forward to specifically? Let us know, and we will see you guys next time. Good night.
Good night.
Later.
Why aren't you a team player?
Because he can say goodbye to his audience, not us.